Bro, you're huge. What supplements do you take? A lot of you out there who lift, you're cringing when I just said that. Because we all deal with it, don't we? We all deal with it if you look like you lift out in public. And it really is a sad state of affairs that people even think that, or that they ask that. And it is because of marketing. It's because of very unethical marketing and the entire supplement industry, which is what propped up and built, say, the bodybuilding industry, has convinced people that supplements are actually a massive part of people's results. Now, am I saying that some supplements can't be helpful? No, some supplements are helpful. And the basics do tend to be helpful. They're slightly helpful. Can there be some health benefits to certain supplements? Yes, absolutely. Can they correct dietary deficiencies? Are there a few things that it's easier to get in supplement form than to get the same amounts from food that are beneficial? Sure. Are there a few things that have been found to improve health in supplement form? Very small amounts, like cognition or whatever. Potentially things like atherosclerosis that you can't get in those doses in foods. So that studies have found there are small health benefits to exceeding the amount that you can actually get from food, sure. But barring those things, they contribute very, very, very little to people's progress. Very little. At best, and when I say this, I do mean at best, a best case scenario, maybe 1%. Maybe. And again, I feel I'm being generous there. I feel that that's actually generous. Now, of course, people say, well, what about protein? Well, I'm not saying, but protein is food. If you consider protein powders to be nothing more than a convenient food source, then I'm going to go with no, not even there. Because if you were to consume the same amount of protein from a food added, in your diet, it would have the exact same benefits. So again, I know people will bring that up and say, but don't you say protein overfeeding is useful, and sometimes that's easier to do with shakes? And sure, but it's not because it's a supplement, it's because it's protein. You could have just drank some egg whites. You could have ate some chicken breast or a lean steak and done literally the exact same thing. When you look at protein powder as purely food, not better or worse or magical, just a different source that in some cases is convenient, then that's kind of different too. And again, I want to be clear there. People will also ask that, well, what protein do you use? And it's like, I usually use Optimal Nutrition, but it's not because it's special or magical. That's the other thing people are like, so they think some protein's going to be a lot better than another. You really think in the grand scheme of things that as long as it's not full of contaminants, that's the reason I go with Optimal Nutrition. Purely been the quality controls on consumer reports and independent reports and things. It's just consistently been found to be low in arsenic and lead and stuff. Let's come back over problems with the supplement industry. That magical protein you might be taking that person recommended might have too much lead and arsenic in it because of poor quality controls. But I digress back over to that point. But that's it. At the end of the day, do people really think in the grand scheme of things that one or two shakes you drink a day or add to, that it's going to be magically better than had you got that same 50 grams from some lean steak? Probably not. Do you think that whey protein you drank from one brand is going to cause a significant difference, a positive or negative, in your muscle growth and gains versus 50 grams of casein protein from a different reputable company? Do you think there's any difference? Really, in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to say no. High bioavailable protein is high bioavailable protein. Okay? Now, different foods might have some extra different vitamins and minerals and stuff depending on the protein source. Sure, and we don't discount that. Creatine can be a little helpful, sure. But even the newest studies have shown that really a lot of those decades of studies that the benefits are way less pronounced, and what all those studies have indicated as ways to measure it have gotten better. It's much smaller. Again, we're back in that maybe 1%. And creatine is probably the single most proven, most effective supplement all throughout history for anything related to muscle growth, right? And it's very, very small. Again, it's less than 1% improvement plotted over time, but it's cheap, and it's cheap and it's safe. So, okay, fine. But do you really think it matters that much which form? The research has actually shown the cheapest, most simple form, the monohydrate, is actually the best one by a small margin. It produces the best results, albeit they're all small for all of them. By a small amount, seems to inch the others out in the lab. Okay, and it's the cheap one. So let's come back over. You really think, does it really matter that much? But people always ask, what supplements do you use? What brand of protein do you use? The overall research is that most of them are pretty much useless. People say, well, this one showed a small boost in strength in the lab. Okay, but did it show muscle growth or performance over time versus people who didn't take it? Well, no. So that boost wasn't really worth anything. Very transient. And that's the problem. All the pre-workouts, the test boosters, this and that. Everyone thinking they need a multivitamin. I don't think any of that's necessary. And I do use some supplements, guys, but they're not a big deal. I just use quality ingredient, like single ingredient things. I use some fish oil, D3, vitamin K2, creatine. Those are pretty much my staples. Right? A little protein powder. Depending on what I'm doing with my diet, sometimes I don't do any protein, sometimes I do a lot of it. It depends on how much protein I'm trying to get in my diet. But that's it, guys. They really doesn't matter. Like, they're not actually necessary. The benefits, for the most part, for your gym gains, I'm not saying maybe your cholesterol or something, maybe your lipid profile. There can be some real benefits to some of these things. But to your muscle gain, your fat loss, your performance gains over time, no, these things actually aren't that important. They're not important enough that you should be that worried about them. Your training is important. Your nutrition's important. Your sleep, your stress management, those are important. Those are all stupidly important. Your supplements, probably like the 10th thing down the hierarchy in terms of importance. But it's been marketed to be near the top. So people then ask you, what protein powder do you take? What supplements do you use? What pre-workout do you use? Doesn't matter. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.